What's going on, everyone? Foxxy here, bringing you another Balisong review. I noticed that people seem to really enjoy my Balisong reviews, so I figured, well, why not make another? This one is totally different compared to the previous two that I looked at. For one, this one has a sharp blade, and secondly, well, just the general appearance is totally different than what you would typically see with any other ordinary Balisong. Now, I'm not sure what to really call this knife. No one seems to have a definitive name for it. Although, there are multiple styles of this same sort of thing going around, like this one by Exiled Cutlery and these Mestra models that are on bladeplay.com. I bought this knife through a site called dhgate.com. It was about 15 bucks with free shipping, and because it arrived from China, it took about a month. I'll leave a link in the description to find the knife, since I know many people are going to ask for one. So first off, let's talk about the appearance of the knife. As you can tell, the handles are curved as opposed to being obviously straight like most Balisongs are. I've heard complaints from people talking about the curved handled Balisongs being more awkward to flip or hold. While yeah, it might take some time getting used to, but just from my personal experience, I didn't have any problems with the curved handles whatsoever. The ring part, however, is a totally different story, which I'll talk much more about in detail later on in this review. The handles are sandwich constructed and are composed of two pieces. Steel, of course, and what I assume is acrylic. I don't really care for the way the handles look, honestly. The acrylic portion, in my opinion, is way too thick and actually makes the knife a little bit harder to handle because it offers no grip whatsoever. As for the blade, well, interestingly, there's no stamping indicating what steel they used. I'm just going to make an educated guess and assume 440 stainless, since most cheap knives use this particular steel. I'm not sure how well you guys are going to be able to see this, but they did stamp the blade with the name Terry Guinn Seymour Tex. Now, obviously this is not a real Terry knife. From what little research I've done, this seems to be a clone of Terry's Balisong named the Original Ring Fighter, which only 39 of them were built and sold in 2005. Anyway, the blade does have a pretty cool design to it, especially with the addition of the ring here and the ridges on the back. I've noticed that whenever I did cut something with this knife, I was much more comfortable doing so, and I noticed I had more leverage compared to other Balisongs. That could also be because of the curved handles. I'm not positive though. One very annoying thing about these cheap Chinese Balisongs is that most, if not all, use really crap metal for their screws. So whenever you try to tighten or loosen them, unless you are incredibly careful, you're most likely going to strip the screws, which is exactly what happened to me. So what I ended up doing is putting a bit of Loctite around the acrylic pieces on the handles as well as the screws so they don't become loose over time and come off while flipping. As for the pivot screws, you're definitely going to want to use some sort of thread locker or Loctite on them because these will loosen over time. I can almost guarantee that. If you don't know how to do this, there is a fantastic tutorial by Knifesoid, which I will link in the description. Last thing you want is your handles coming apart while doing a trick. It's a major accident waiting to happen. This Balisong has a spring latch that functions perfectly fine. A lot of cheap Chinese Balisongs use standard T-latches like this that tend to get in the way of flipping and even potentially smack into the blade itself, damaging the edge of the blade. The tang pins aren't all that great. They're kind of small and the metal they use is much too soft. What ends up happening is when you flip this, the handles will smack into the tang pins, causing the soft metal on those tang pins to eventually wear down over time. The result of this could be either of two things. One, the tang pins break altogether, or in my case, the knife no longer locks for me in the open position. Which isn't a huge deal, and it is fixable by simply putting a small rubber O-ring on the latch itself, but still it's annoying nonetheless. Now that leads us to the performance of the knife. Well, I've been occasionally flipping this for the past few months, and from my personal experience, I must say that this is not a great flipper whatsoever. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the curved handles aren't really the issue. The main problem is the ring. Not only does it throw off the balance just enough to be noticeable, the ring really makes it hard to flip. I mean, I could still do basic moves like, latch drops, full twirls, the occasional Y2Ks, but anything more complicated, especially harder to pull off rollovers, is just frustrating. The thing is, I can still pull off some of these difficult moves, but usually it takes me like 10 or 15 tries before I can nail the trick almost perfectly. Of course, it goes without saying that there are definitely going to be other people out there that are able to pull off these harder tricks with a balisong like this much more effectively than me, but the main question is it really even worth it? I would rather just stick to my regular flippers for those harder to pull off tricks just to avoid all that frustration, but hey, that's just me. As far as durability goes, I don't know, I would just be very cautious of flipping this around hardwood floors or hard floors in general, because I wouldn't be surprised if the acrylic snaps off the handle from a good fall. Now, I don't know if the handles themselves will snap over time either from flipping or dropping the knife, like really poorly made balisongs often do. Either way, I would still be very careful about where you're flipping this knife. As usual, I'll give you guys a brief little demo of me flipping this knife before I head to my final thoughts. Now, don't expect me to do super fancy moves with this either. I've already cut myself enough with this thing. So that leads me to the big question. Would I recommend purchasing this balisong? I would say if you are looking for a neat display piece, a novelty piece, or just something more unique than the usual balisongs, then yes, I guess I would recommend it. Now, if you're looking for a good everyday flipper, then no, I wouldn't really recommend this as a good option for you. Unless, of course, you are a very ambitious person and really want to master an awkward handling balisong like this, then whatever, do what you want, go for it. So with that said, everyone, I want to thank you all very much for watching. There is a good chance that I'll start reviewing more balisongs in the future, but I just don't know which ones I want to review next. I would like to stray away from more of the mainstream knives and look at strange, unique, or just interesting ones in the future, but who knows. Till next time, everyone.